What if a prophecy could foretell world-changing events? That's what makes the third secret of Fatima so mysterious. It's a prophecy that could come true in 2024. The Vatican revealed this secret to the world in 2000. It showed an angel with a flaming sword, meaning that bad things could happen in the world. In the peaceful Cova da Iria, Portugal, on May 13, 1917, Lucia, Francisco and Jacinta, 3 young shepherds, saw a ghostly figure. They saw a dazzlingly beautiful woman whom they took to be Our Lady of Fatima. She revealed 3 secrets to them, which were frightening predictions about the future of the world and the Church. Lucia revealed her first 2 secrets to the public in 1941 because her bishop had asked her to. They were frightening visions of hell and bad predictions for the future. The third secret, on the other hand, remained silent, and the world was unaware of its frightening predictions for decades. It was only much later that this ominous secret was revealed. It has given rise to much speculation and debate among scholars and believers alike. What these secrets mean for world peace and spiritual health is what makes them important. On that terrible day, the 3 children were tending their sheep in the Cova d'Iria, also known as the Cove of Peace. A sudden flash of lightning in the sky at midday, after they had prayed the rosary as usual, was seen as the beginning of a storm. As the children gathered their sheep, there was a second, brighter flash, and a bright light appeared above a small oak tree. In the midst of all this light, the pretty woman in white floated above the tree. She spoke to the children, holding a white rosary. This was the beginning of what would become known the world over as the apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima. She begged them to pray the rosary every day to bring peace to the world and put an end to war. This was the first in a long series of miraculous apparitions of God that would captivate people the world over. These facts were hidden from the public for many years. Until she became a nun, Lucia kept these secrets to herself. It was not until many years later that all the details of the third secret were sent to the Pope in a sealed envelope. This triggered a great deal of debate and speculation about the meaning of this secret. This video describes these prophecies and their significance in detail, encouraging people who trust in God to reflect on what Fatima said. If you'd like to know more about the mysteries of faith, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And now, here we go. The events at the Cova da Iria have given rise to much scientific discussion about the origin and meaning of the name Our Lady of Fatima. Some researchers believe that the title simply refers to the place where these events took place, while others see a possible link with Islamic tradition. It is also the name of the Prophet Muhammad's daughter, which is very important in Islam. This interesting link stems from the fact that both religions honor Maryam, called Mary in Christianity, and she is a central figure in both narratives. In Islam, an entire chapter of the Quran is dedicated to her, honoring her life and the miraculous birth of her son Isaac, which is similar to the Christian story of Jesus' birth. This mutual admiration highlights a profound dialogue between religions, with Maryam and Fatima serving as a link between them. In her first vision, Mary gave the children a very important message. They must meet every 13th of the month for 6 months. She said bad things would happen, but promised peace in heaven. Her instructions were simple but powerful. Pray the rosary every day and recite the Fatima prayer at the end of each decade to bring peace to the world. In her second revelation, on June 13, 1917, Mary again stressed the importance of the rosary in maintaining calm. When the visionaries wish to ascend to heaven, Mary tells them they will make separate journeys. She told Jacinta and Francisco that they would go to heaven, while she told Lucia that she would continue her mission on earth. On July 13, 1917, the revelations intensified when Mary had a terrifying vision of hell that made it clear that people must love her Immaculate Heart to be saved. She said that Russia would be involved in another world war and would be persecuted. She also said that terrible things would happen if Russia didn't become holy. When the police arrested them in August 1917 to stop them from meeting Marie, her dedication to her work was put to the test. But she was determined, for she later appeared in a meadow and begged people to pray harder and make sacrifices to save many souls from going to hell. Unfortunately, Francisco and Jacinta, the young visionaries, died soon after these important revelations due to influenza. They therefore had to leave before the events of these heavenly prophecies could take place. Although Francisco's illness made him very weak, he spent his last days performing acts of sacrifice to comfort God. He died in 1919 and was first buried in the town cemetery. Although Jacinta suffered greatly, she used her last moments to pray for world peace and the salvation of souls who could not help themselves. When she died in 1920, she was buried in her family mausoleum for some time before being transferred to the town cemetery. If you like these ghosts and their messages, show your support by giving this video a like, subscribing to our channel, and, if you feel moved, using the Super Thank You button below. Your participation helps us find more information and share it with others. That's why, in 1930, the Catholic Church officially recognized the strange things these young visionaries had seen as miracles. In 1952, shrines were built in honor of Francisco and Jacinta next to the main altar. These shrines were erected to honor their role as spiritual leaders. Lucia has been a recluse since 1934. In 1941, she recounted the celestial encounters she had had as a child, bringing to light the profound secrets revealed during these visions. Her archives highlight the vivid descriptions and divine instructions given to her by the visitor from heaven. The main revelation concerned a frightening subterranean world, which the visionaries saw as an immense hell beneath the surface, where numerous spirits and evil entities were tortured forever. This vision left a deep impression on them. After this great revelation, the celestial messenger gave advice on how to save themselves and avoid conflict. She explained how to avoid these terrible results and the World War, and stressed the need to put an end to offenses against divinity. It warned that disobeying these warnings would lead to even greater problems. The end of the First World War seemed to coincide with this advice, which suggested that God was involved in world affairs. It was also said that a strange glow in the night sky meant war was coming, and that everyone would suffer for their mistakes. As a solution, Russia was to be consecrated to its pure essence, and healing rituals were to be performed on certain Sabbats. If these instructions were followed, Russia would be at peace and would change for the better. But if these instructions were not followed, chaos would reign throughout the world, followers would be persecuted, and many people would die. These important revelations gave the children a new sense of purpose and joy, which made them even more determined to do what they were meant to do. The fact that they never wavered in their devotion to His perfect essence gave them the strength to face the problems ahead. They had hope and were firmly committed to their beliefs, because they knew that they would always be with them and that their pure essence would one day arise. We're getting closer to the third secret of Fatima, which is the most mysterious of all the revelations. Sister Lucia carefully wrote down and sealed this secret prophecy, but she kept it secret because she thought it would only be relevant later, when a new situation would become clear. The mysterious envelope was finally opened in 1960, 20 years after it had been sealed. But its deepest secrets were not made public until the year 2000. During this revelation, Lucy saw an angel with a flaming sword that threatened to destroy the entire world. This divine being stood to the left of the Virgin and held the weapon in his left hand. The weapon's flames were extinguished by the light coming from his right hand. The revelation sent a very important message about repentance and divine action. It did so while making urgent appeals for forgiveness in blinding light. The seers were deeply moved by these revelations and knew they had important moral and spiritual implications for all men. This part of the secret gave rise to much debate and different interpretations, which showed how important it is to pray, to regret one's sins, and to be faithful to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. These promises drew attention to the ongoing conflict in heaven and to the hope of peace through respect for divine orders and Marian devotion. Lucia drew a white figure that looked like a bishop and was surrounded by a bright light that resembled a reflection. The children guessed it was the Pope and watched him, accompanied by other priests, climb a steep hill to a large cork cross. As he passed through a destroyed city and prayed for the souls he saw, his path was full of sadness. At the top, he was killed by a brutal attack from troops armed with guns and arrows. Other religious leaders also died at the foot of the cross, adding to the sad story. Then, celestial beings appeared and collected the essence of the martyrs in a crystal vessel. As the souls rose, they became holy, a metaphor for purification and elevation. On May 13, 1981, 64 years after the first apparitions of Mary, Pope John Paul II was the victim of an assassination attempt. The attacker's bullets caused serious injuries, and he had to undergo complicated surgery to save his life. This terrible ordeal of suffering and imminent death revived memories of previous prophetic visions. People saw the bishop dressed in white, the hard climb, and the sad end as allegories of the trials and sacrifices clergy go through. The angel's collection of the sacred blood was seen as a tribute to the bishop's sanctity and the ultimate salvation his suffering brought. Some saw the attempted assassination of John Paul II as part of the fulfillment of this prophecy and said that the Virgin Mary's help had made his miraculous recovery possible. During his convalescence, he forgave the person who had injured him and then went to the shrine in Fatima, Portugal, to show his gratitude. This reinforced the link between his experience and the chilling predictions of the third secret. Pope John Paul II gave her the bullet that almost killed her and placed it inside the crown that crowns the statue of the Queen of Fatima during his moving visit. The bullet entered directly into a gap left open between the branches of the crown. In 2000, the Vatican declared that everything connected with the third secret had come true, but there were still arguments. Cardinal Ratzinger, the famous 20th century theologian who later became Pope Benedict XVI, wrote in his autobiography that his ordination on June 29, 1951, had been the happiest day of his life. He wrote an essay on the third secret, in which he said that the revelations might not be as exciting as people thought, because they wouldn't contain deep mysteries or clear predictions. He made it clear that the vision was not intended to set an immutable course for things, but to inspire people to take action, to bring about positive change. Ratzinger disagreed with deterministic readings of secrecy. For example, he didn't believe that the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II in 1981 was planned by God. He stated that these actions were not guided by divine will and questioned the idea of destiny, asserting that people have the power to choose what they do. Through his analysis, it seems that the vision was intended to show the dangers and ways of avoiding potential disasters, emphasizing the power of human actions to shape future events. The Church recognizes Mary's revelations as testamentary events because they include the secrets of Fatima and other events that have been approved by the Church. Even if there are doubts about their veracity, the Church follows a strict process to verify these claims. The first step is for the local bishop to decide whether the claimant is trustworthy and whether the story makes sense. If further research is needed to ascertain this, the Vatican can be asked to examine the claims. Some of these events are still venerated around the world, but Our Lady of Guadalupe is the most famous of them all. Her story begins in 1531, when she supposedly appeared to the native Juan Diego atop Mount Tepeyac near Mexico City. He begged Diego to build a shrine in her honor. At first, the religious leaders didn't believe him and asked for proof. Later, he gave her flowers that were out of the ordinary for the place and the time of year. When she handed them to the bishop, the flowers, which were wrapped in her tilma, fell off, revealing a beautiful image of the Virgin Mary printed on the fabric. Since then, this image has become an important part of Mexican culture and spirituality. Millions of people visit the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City every year to see this statue. It's one of the most popular shrines in the world. There's even a shrine dedicated to her near Chicago. Every year, some 400 people from all over North America come to honor her legacy. In Lourdes, France, the Marian apparitions are among the most studied and prayed about. They attract both researchers and pilgrims. In 1858, Bernadette Soubirous had 18 visions of Mary that helped her lead the community in the adoration of God. One of these encounters led her to find a spring in Lourdes said to have healing properties. Since then, Lourdes has become a major pilgrimage site, attracting large numbers of people each year seeking physical and spiritual healing. In 1879, a vision of Mary occurred on the other side of Europe, in Knock, Ireland. People reported seeing Mary with St. Joseph and St. John the Evangelist, all dressed in light rain. Unlike the direct messages from Lourdes, this silent apparition comforted people and gave them hope. This shows just how different Marian apparitions can be in different parts of the world. The clear instructions of Lourdes are different from the silent presence of Knock. It shows that peace and spiritual growth can come from heavenly beings. The town of Kibeho, Rwanda, was a hotbed of Marian visions from 1981 to 1989. 3 children say Mary appeared to them and told them to pray the rosary 3 times a day to become more spiritual. During these encounters, Mary spoke of a terrible event that many consider to be the Rwandan genocide of 1994, a terrible war in which many people died because of racial tensions. Subsequently, the arrest of a key genocide suspect in South Africa sparked a new debate about justice and healing in Rwanda. It showed how the effects of past crimes still affect people today. The apparitions at Kibeho are revered both for their religious messages and for their somber reminders of the need for peace and reconciliation in a deeply troubled world. Marian visions have always sent messages of conversion, penance, and devotion around the world. They support the Catholic Church's call for spiritual renewal for all. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to our channel, and use Super Thanks to show your appreciation. Your help not only helps us maintain our content, but also spreads these important messages of peace and reflection to more people. For example, in 1959, the United States saw Adele Bryce receive instructions from Mary on how to help sinners change their minds and encourage children to attend Catholic school. Similarly, Sister Agnes Sasagawa in Japan received messages in 1973 emphasizing prayer and repentance in the image of the famous Fatima apparitions of 1917. Pope Francis talks a lot about the third secret of Fatima. He sees in it a message from God inviting us to stop fighting and act for peace. His reflections in the wake of the terrorist attacks and at a time of rising global tensions show that these prophecies are still relevant today. To avoid possible global conflicts, Francis insists on the importance of talking to each other, making peace, and working immediately towards reconciliation. These ongoing conversations about Marian apparitions and their meaning remind us that these messages from heaven are always useful in helping people to live in peace and spiritual depth. Thank you all.